Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our mental health series. I'm so excited to be joined by some incredible experts in the field that you're going to hear from different experiences and perspective and expertise. And today we're talking with Brittany Urresta. Brittany is a nurse practitioner right here in Alabaster, has an incredible practice helping people get their health back. And so I wanted to talk with her because Brittany has an incredible perspective from our physical makeup of how our bodies and our routines affect our minds. And I want to remind us about how important this topic is because there's 1 in 5 people who've experienced mental health each and every year. We have 48 million people that are struggling with depression. So chances are somebody in your family, a friend, even yourself is dealing with our mental health, and we want to be as healthy as we can be. So Brittany, I want to say thank you for taking time to join us tonight to have this conversation. We're honored that you're with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, this is an important topic. Like I was saying, there's so many people who struggle in this way. And I think the first thing that's important to understand is that they're not the only ones struggling. And I think conversations like this help people realize that they're not in this alone.
Absolutely.
And Brittany, what I really wanted to hear from you is your unique perspective because you're helping people every day get their health back. So just tell us a little bit so we kind of understand your perspective of what you do and how you help people.
Yeah, absolutely. So at A New Wellness, I do specialize in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and that is for men and women. Typically, men that are dealing with low testosterone, men and women that are dealing with thyroid issues, and then classically, women that are going through PMS, PCOS, perimenopause, into menopause and postmenopause. Obviously, I help a wide variety of people that don't fit those exact definitions, but that's classically what we see most often here.
Okay, so you're dealing with the physical impact of all of these factors that you just talked about. Now, what is the correlation between, say, hormonal imbalances and someone's mental health?
So much more than people realize. And honestly, so much more than we ever learned in our conventional medicine training. We have the way that I like to explain it to my patients is we have hormone receptors all throughout our body, meaning that these hormones work in all over our body, including the brain. So when we have a testosterone deficiency or a progesterone deficiency, or when women go through perimenopause and have wildly fluctuating hormones, it has a direct effect on the brain. And that can show up by way of depression, anxiety, mood swings, and a lack of mental resilience is what I most often hear my patients complain of.
Wow. Okay, so let's step back a second,
Yeah.
and because I think this is reframing a perception of what a mental health struggle could be. So let me just give you the lay version here. So when people talk about their mental health, oftentimes I hear it be associated with they don't like their job.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't want to go to my job. I don't like what I do, or there's financial pressure in life, or I haven't achieved the goals that I want to achieve. We sort of correlate with circumstance often. The reason that we feel depressed or that we feel anxious or overwhelmed or there's so many emotions that are tied to it. So what you're explaining is that it's not just circumstantial, but there may be some things physically happening behind the scenes that maybe we're not aware of. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I never want to belittle any type of how our circumstances can affect our mental health and the way that our lifestyle can play a huge role in our mental health. What we're eating, what we're taking into our body, how we're moving, how we're exercising, getting outdoors, hobbies that we partake in. All of those play a very valuable role
Hmm.
in a positive mental health and a good mental health. However, you're absolutely correct. There are people that with these lack of hormones and hormone imbalances that they feel like I'm doing all the things right. I love my family. I love my career sometimes, but everything that they are trying to do, it's something is missing. It's the missing piece.
Yeah, obviously, just what you said, every piece plays a part,
Yes.
certainly.
Hmm.
But I think for many people, that may be almost a discovery of that statement to go, it may not just be the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Because do you find in your practice that you may have conversations with people and they say things like, just what you said, I like my job. I love my family. I can't figure out why I feel this way.
Yep.
Do you feel that a lot of people have that approach?
I have this conversation almost weekly. They say, I feel like I don't have a reason to feel depressed, but I do. Or women going through perimenopause are, I just don't feel like myself anymore. Or I'm snapping at everyone. I'm more irritable than I was. And they're thinking that something is wrong with them all of a sudden. And it's often it's different than what they're thinking. They are just scratching their brains trying to figure out, what is this stage of life that I'm in? What is this fog that I'm in? Why can't I pull myself out of this? And to me, as a hormone specialist, it is just crystal clear that it what the solution is here.
Yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you because number one, I'd heard so many people talking about their before and after having been a part of your practice.
Yeah.
So when you hear something like that, you go, okay, whatever she's doing, something is working over there.
Yeah.
And so, full transparency, I became a patient of yours, and I know the difference that it has made for me.
Yeah.
Just that fogginess that you talked about, those moments of going, why do I feel just so down today?
Yeah.
And realizing there are physical imbalances in the body.
Hmm.
And so I am one of those individuals that you're talking about that go, I don't have any reason to feel this way,
Yeah.
but for some reason I do. And then for you to be able to uncover that in a different layer. And so that's really what I wanted to sort of reveal to people tonight that may be watching that may have that same struggle going, I don't really know why I feel this way, or they've tried everything else and they just can't figure out what it is.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. If someone is sitting there almost in a discovery mode of trying to figure out what is missing in my mental health, the way I feel, what would be the starting point? What would you encourage some people, maybe some practical tips that they could begin exercising in their life, and then ultimately, even from your perspective as a professional in this, what would be the direction?
Well, obviously, I'm always going to recommend people get their labs checked, seek out a hormone specialist, because I can often correlate how they're feeling with their stage of life and come up with a treatment plan that is going to help them. But at my practice at a new wellness, I always incorporate healthy lifestyle. So I would say for starters, the first tip, something that people can do right now, tonight, tomorrow, is going to be get up and move. People underestimate how movement can affect your body and affect the mind. We know that we have a release in the brain of the feel good chemicals when we do move our body. And I always teach my patients this. We want to move our body. We want to make sure we're hydrating well, drinking plenty of water, giving the body what it needs, fueling our body with whole foods. And then after that, I come see me, get your labs checked. And because testosterone in men starts to decline 10% each decade of life. And what we know now with the environment of the chemicals in our food, the plastics, what's in our clothing, we're exposed to, it's called endocrine disrupting chemicals that are making our hormones decrease at a faster rate than we have ever seen. And they also cause an imbalance with our hormones. So then when we're looking at women as well, not only do we go through a perimenopausal time where our hormones are wildly fluctuating and we can offer some stability to those hormone levels. But once we get to a certain stage in our life, we no longer produce those hormones. So we are losing all of the benefits that hormones provide to our body. So my biggest goal is for people to understand and just have an like this is a thing that affects everyone. And it's a very real thing. And I just want people to be aware of it so they are equipped to handle this when it does happen and they're not left living, the later decades of their life just feeling miserable and empty and lost.
Yeah. I like that because a lot of people, they do live in a hopeless state. There's
Yeah.
this almost this hopelessness for people who really are struggling with their mental health. And I like your approach because it is well balanced. I think you told me one time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you told me like in the middle of your work day when you don't have patients, which is much of your day you're sitting with patients, but when you get a free moment, you told me that I think you leave the office and walk around the building. Is that,
Well,
did you tell me that?
sometimes I will actually pace in my office, whether I'm responding to messages. I've actually this morning was thinking I'm going to get a standing desk with a walking pad because that is how important movement is to our bodies and our brains.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yes,
and it's
yeah.
you can, you know the difference in feeling sunlight,
Hmm.
just being exposed to sunlight, having been indoors in an office all day or something, and walk out and just there's a freshness that you feel.
Yeah.
And so I hear you say, put some habits in your life. There are controllables and there are uncontrollables.
Yeah.
So there are things that we can do, our diet, our exercise, our routines, feeding our minds, feeding our bodies, all of these things that we have control of. So do all of those things. And then when that doesn't work and you're looking for solutions, you said the first step, if I'm hearing this right, is getting your labs checked and getting a full report of your body.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to, obviously, as a healthcare provider, I could get down into the weeds about, there are certain mental conditions where, other streams of or other avenues are necessary. However, for just kind of the everyday person that's dealing with, I'm more irritable, and what I often hear is, I don't handle situations as well as I once did. And I'll also hear that they don't have the energy or motivation to do things they once loved to do. And
Mm.
that is a telltale sign of, if you don't, if you're going to work and then coming home and just crashing, you only have room and energy in your life for work, responsibilities, and that's it. You just crash and do it again the next day. That is a telltale sign that something is off. You're not having that drive and that funness and motivation to go out and do the things that bring you joy, that bring you pleasure. And that's where we can dial in your hormones. And I will hear all the time at follow ups, I started this hobby back, I got back in the gym, or I have the energy to go out and play with my kids now, and I love it. So oftentimes people get very, it's almost a huge shadow of all the things I need to do. And it becomes very daunting, especially when you don't have the energy or the motivation to do it. And that's where I say, if you're in that place, come see me and let's get the hormones. Because what I'll tell people is, we'll use a snowball effect. Once we start balancing the hormones, once we get your levels where they need to be, you will start having that energy and that motivation. And let's use that to make these positive changes in your life. So I always say, yes, start with lifestyle, but some people absolutely just, they're empty. They have nothing to give there.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So you just offered us some great warning signs, some indicators that we need to do something. So start, everybody, start by checking, do an inventory of your inputs. So what you're inputting into your body, what you're inputting into your mind, and your output. How much effort are you putting into your exercise and your routines and all the things that we can control? And then for the uncontrollables, we have a resource of someone who can help you. So here's what I would encourage everybody to do. If you have a question or a thought, something that you would like to know about specifically, you can put it in the comments, and we're going to be monitoring, taking a look through all the comments. And so Brittany can follow up with you. She may be able to give you some advice, put you in a direction of some things that you can try that you can just begin doing today. Or you may say, I would love to have a comprehensive review of my body. I'd love to get my labs checked and to see all the intricacies of what's happening with my body. And of course, she can help you with that as well. And during our series, we're going to be talking to different people with different perspectives and different thought processes. So we're all learning together how to manage not only our physical bodies, but our mental health so that we're all better doing all the great things that we were created to do, we're passionate about, and so we can be better for our families and our work and our friends and all the things that we do. So, Brittany, if you had one last thing to say to everybody watching, just in this topic, or a thought that you want to give to somebody just to help encourage them today in their mental health journey, what would you say?
I would say you have one life, live it to the fullest, and seek out the resources that can help you live that life to the fullest. What you're experiencing, it doesn't have to be the norm. We can help improve things.
Well, Brittany, thank you. Thank you for all the
Thank
information and the
you.
insight tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. It's been an honor that you spent your night with us, learning and growing and getting better together. Be sure to check out the entire mental health series. We'll see you on the next one.